for the first words on the Congress. Jean-Pierre, we cannot hear you. I'm not sure if you're trying to speak. You may be muted, but we cannot hear you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Alison.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Hi.
I am not in the office, and I have issues with the internet. I got kicked out twice,
okay.
so let's hope it works now.
Let's hope
yes, very nice to be here. Thank you, everyone, the UNOC team as well as IOC UNESCO for organizing this webinar. We, as you noticed, the subtitle of the One Ocean Science Congress is Science for Action. And to do that, we have a wonderful international scientific committee, which came up with 10 themes oriented to action. And those themes are shown here on this slide. I'm not going to discuss all of them, but the next speakers will address a few of those themes. All those themes are related to multilateral issues, fora negotiations ongoing, for example, the UNFCCC, the Plastic Treaty, CBD, BBNJ, etc. So we want really to cover at the Congress with those themes a range of very hot topics and oriented towards action. The themes do not match exactly the 10 challenges of the UN decade for ocean science, but the themes were also co-designed with IOC, UNESCO, and we broadly cover the same number of topics. What I would like now to do is to focus on theme 2, effectiveness, equitability, and safety of ocean-based approaches to reach the mitigation and adaptation goals of the Paris Agreement. This is a topic that is very close to my heart. It's obviously linked to UNFCCC, the climate negotiations. As you all know, I mean, the ocean is an actor of the climate system. In fact, one says that on long geological timescales, the ocean is the climate is slave to the ocean. The ocean is also a victim of climate change with ocean acidification and warming, the loss of oxygen, to name only a few. And the International Tribunal for the Law of the Seas has recognized CO2 as a polluting chemical polluting the ocean. So the ocean is an actor, a victim, but it is also a source of solutions. And we want, hopefully at the One Ocean Science Congress, to highlight those solutions in terms of adaptation and mitigation, with perhaps a focus on marine carbon dioxide removal. All eyes are now turned to the ocean due to the weakness of climate action. There is a need now to remove a large amount of CO2 from the atmosphere, and the ocean can play a role in that. But many of us in the scientific community would like to see stronger research on the effectiveness, on the negative collateral effects of those methods, and also governance in place before they are scaled up to huge areas and also long term. So this is a theme that will be addressed, and I over to you now, Alison.
Great, thank you so much, Jean-Pierre. And I think it's also here that we start to see a lot of the complementarity between the work that was done through the Vision 2030 process and how we can build on those discussions at the One Ocean Science Congress, because of course marine carbon dioxide removal was one of the priority topics that was highlighted in the Barcelona statement, also as an area requiring research and science and solutions-based investigation. So I'm going to hand over now to the second co-chair of the One Ocean Science Congress, Francois Houllier, who's the Director General of IFREMER as well, who is going to talk to us or address other issues amongst these 10 topics that are going to be discussed as part of the One Ocean Science Congress. So over to you, Francois.
Sorry, I thought that do you hear me well?
We can hear you, but we can't see you. I'm not sure if you can.
This is coming back. I'm trying to solve it.
Okay, there we go. Now it's
okay. Okay, so thank you, Alison, for the introduction. As was said by Jean-Pierre, the idea when we selected these 10 topics with the International Scientific Committee was to design topics that were able to feed the discussions that will take place at UNOC, and especially those ocean action panels that are still to be designed, but somehow we try to predict or anticipate what these ocean action panels would be. Maybe one point I would like to add before diving into one or two of these topics is a sort of answer also to something that was said earlier, is that for the One Ocean Science Congress, we, with Jean-Pierre and the other organizers, we plan to have a special schemes for facilitating the participation of two groups of people that we feel are important: the early career ocean scientists on the side, and the scientists from low-income countries, of developing countries, or SIDS on the other side. So that this is something that we have definitely in mind. I remember what Jorge just said before. I will dive into two or three of these topics. The first I would like to speak of is the one dealing with the deep ocean and the ways to enable its sustainable use. There are several actions and projects and programs that have been endorsed by the UN Ocean Decade on deep ocean and deep sea ecosystems, so that we can build upon the advances of knowledge in these areas. I would like to remind that deep ocean is the largest ecosystem in the planet, that it is home to a rich and diverse fauna. It's also home to a diversity of landscapes that we sometimes are not able to imagine, and so this is something important. This is also an ecosystem or a set of ecosystems that are critical for key services, for example, for climate regulation, for fisheries, and something that is sometimes overlooked, but this is important, at least in some countries. This is an integral part of the culture and well-being of some local communities. Although this is an area where nobody goes, this is sometimes very important for the culture of the people. What we know is that also already that it is all highly vulnerable and sensitive to disturbance. And this is already impacted by human activities. So with that in mind, what we expect from the One Ocean Science Congress and the discussion and the conversation that will take place on this specific topic is that we would like to provide up-to-date and state-of-the-art scientific knowledge. We would like that this knowledge deals with the diversity of landscapes, of deep sea landscapes, provides also an assessment of the functioning and services of the deep ocean, of the already existing impacts of the human activities, be they direct or indirect, because pollution is already there, and also have a discussion scientifically based on the stewardship of these ecosystems. We also expect that we will be able to delineate the knowledge gaps. We often say that this is a frontier of science, a frontier of knowledge. So definitely there are knowledge gaps. And we hope in the end to get a clear message on the necessity of the protection of the deep ocean and of the conditions and modalities of this protection. So this is typically what I would expect from this topic. If I've still 1 minute, tell me, Alison, or...
1 minute or less, very, very quickly.
Okay. And the other very different topic I wanted to mention is the one on this T9, on environmental footprint and decarbonization of maritime transport and shipping. you all know that maritime transport is responsible for a bit less than 3% of greenhouse gases emissions. But beyond greenhouse gases emissions, there are issues with more generally the environmental footprint, the noise, the pollution, the invasive species. So we feel that there is here some science to be generated already, but also synthesized. If we want to reduce the environmental footprint of maritime transport and shipping, of course, this is first a matter of action, of decisions by those who are directly involved as an industry. But this is also a matter of science-based informed action. And for that, you have a need to combine some scientific knowledge on the impacts of this shipping, but also to combine it with technology, because there are some solutions to reduce, for example, propulsion, alternative fuels, that kind of technological solutions. But it's not only a matter of natural sciences and technology, it's also a matter of social innovations, the way you are organizing the whole shipping. This is also a matter of regulations, and here some social science can be very critical, important. And one of specific points we will address is what will we do with the oceanographic fleet? We will have a scientific congress, but we have also our own responsibility. We have to be exemplary. So I expect that at one point of time at the One Ocean Science Congress, there will be a conversation about how can the research vessels be exemplary.
Great, thank you so much, Francois. And I think it was very, very interesting to hear those two diverse examples, because of course the tagline of the conference, the motto of the conference being science to action, and we can see through those two examples on how the Congress can be looking both at the science but also moving to action. And as you say, with shipping, perhaps starting in our own backyard for some of the research fleet. We'll now move on to our next speaker, Peter Hogan. Very, very happy to welcome Peter to the webinar. So Peter is the Policy Director at the Institute of Marine Research at the University of Bergen, who is also the co-chair of Working Group 4 under the Vision 2030 process, focusing on a sustainable ocean economy, and of course, a lead expert to the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy. And Peter is going to be addressing issues around inclusivity, equity, and knowledge systems across several of the different topics that are going to be addressed at the One Ocean Science Congress. So over to you, Peter.
Thank you very much, Alison. I'm pleased to be here. And you've already experienced that there's a breadth of topics being addressed here, and I think that's very appropriate. I would like to maybe start with ocean science, the definition of ocean science. And in fact, those who look into the way the decade has been defined, the definition of ocean science is actually quite broad. It includes different forms of knowledge already, and also the use of knowledge for management and policy development, and linking that to different forms of knowledge. So in particular, moving here towards Nice and the One Ocean Science Congress, I think is relevant to, if you look through all the topics, you will see equity or equitability around it several places. And I think also in the decade Vision 2030 process, this has been rising. The white paper on ocean economy that you mentioned, Alison, we actually included equity explicitly there, and during the discussion of that paper, developed that very, very much so. So, in fact, when we look at that paper and the ambition for this challenge of the decade, it's one of the things is that the ocean is managed in an equitable manner, and we recognize that management of the ocean is actually management of human activities. We cannot really manage the ocean directly. And then human activities means that we have to have people on board and people who are not scientists, and we need to integrate indigenous knowledge, local knowledge, practical knowledge. And that has to be done in decision-making processes and promotion of human rights-based approaches. Now, how do we do that in a science congress? Can we have papers from people who don't have academic degrees? We'll see how we can deal with that. But I think in particular, the topic 1 here, integrating knowledge systems and also this responsibility and respect from the ocean, is an aspect which comes up quite a lot in discussions with the local communities who may not have such a strong science support, but who have a lot of essential knowledge. And then again, this is connected to inclusivity in decision-making processes and having everybody at the table. If you're not at the table, you're typically on the menu, is one expression that I've heard. So multiple knowledge systems secure the health and productivity of the ocean, include indigenous and local knowledge systems, look at human and non-human rights to a healthy ocean, stakeholders, rights holders, cultural heritage exploration, uplifting local actors, and also public awareness and ocean education and literacy. And that is all in this topic 1, but it actually is also quite relevant to many other topics. Particularly if I mention topic 3 on protection and restoration of marine and coastal ecosystems, we talk again about the development of the ocean economy, which is important for the ocean's role in food security, in transportation, in climate, and so on. But we have to then make sure that this is done in a way which respects the environment and so on, but also respects the local populations and their rights. So how to make sure that we benefit, the local communities benefit from that, and that's particularly relevant for coastal ecosystems. And I could go on because this is a cross-cutting theme, but I think I'll stop there in the interest of time and just welcome everybody from different walks of life to consider this One Ocean Science Congress and see how we can make room for contributions there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. And as you mentioned, this is an issue that from the outset of the Ocean Decade as well, we've really been trying to explore further. And I think we've seen with partners and collaborators over the last few years a growing recognition of this need to embrace alternative knowledge systems, but perhaps still a lack of guidance on how exactly to do that. So hopefully that's also something that can really be put in and highlighted during the One Ocean Science Congress, because I know there's a great demand for that sort of very practical guidance and support on how to embrace this, ensure that inclusivity. We'll come to our last speaker now for his intervention, and then we're going to come back to all the speakers for a very quick lightning round. So I will warn you in advance. You've got a little bit more to share with the audience. But the last speaker for the intervention is Rashid Sumaila, who is the Professor and Canada Research Chair in Interdisciplinary Ocean and Fisheries Economics at the Institute for Ocean and Fisheries at the University of British Columbia, who I guess not surprisingly is going to talk to us about topic 6 on fisheries, which will be addressed in the Ocean Science Congress. So over to you, Rashid. Rashid, we cannot hear you. I could hear you fine when we did our technical test. You want to try again? No, we still can't hear you, Rashid. Let me see. Do you want to try and unmute one more time and we'll see if we can hear you? That's strange because it was working very well when we did the test. Okay, I think we're getting a headset plugged in from the looks of it. All right, let's see if that works. If you can. No, you're on mute now. You just need to hit unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there we go. Over to you. The floor is yours.
Oh, you can. Okay. All right. That's when you have a rough start, usually good things are coming. Okay. Can you hear me, Alison?
Yes, we can. It's a little bit soft, so if you
All
could
right.
speak up a little bit, that would be great.
All right, so yeah. So my topic is T6, which is transparency in the fisheries sector. And why is transparency important? In the first place, wild fish stocks, our oceans and the marine ecosystems that support the fish are common property. It's not easy to give permanent residency to fish. They go where they go. They don't need visa. So that's point number one. This means that when people and companies go fishing, whether legally or illegally, they can harm, and they do harm, the ecosystem. They can harm other fishes. They can harm future generations because you impact the ecosystem. This therefore means that for the good of everybody, for good management, we need to know what everyone on the water is doing. We need to have as much information as possible. And that is transparency throughout the fish value chain. We need that. Now, to be more specific, I look at IUU fishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. We need to know what is going here, because to be able to manage our fisheries sustainably, we need to know the total move, how much we take out of the system. Otherwise, we're operating in the dark, and that is not good. So we need to do this. And there are a number of ways we can really get to this, because illegal fishers don't just come to you and say, oh, I just fish illegally. I took X tons of fish. No, we'll have to find a way to know this. And technology is a very good way. We're getting better with satellite. We'll be able to actually estimate what illegal fishers are doing. Number two, communities can actually help. I know communities where even among fishers who monitor what is going on to make sure that they themselves don't overtake and their colleagues don't overtake. We can also learn from indigenous people. Peter talked a lot about our knowledge system, indigenous wisdom, local fishing community wisdom can help us. Again, I know communities where the people themselves have to monitor what is going on. Thirdly, we need policy. At every major fishing port, we need to know when you land fish, we need to be sure that you caught your fish legally. And that is really important, because ultimately the fish has to go to the market. And at that point, we can do something. The second thing I want to talk about with transparency is harmful fishery subsidies. And this is a big thing. It's been going on for over 20 years. The WTO has been trying to help us to discipline this. We need to know where our tax money is going. What is it doing in terms of sustainability? Is it helping people to empty the ocean? And that is important. Finally, fishing agreements. Rich, big countries make agreements with low-income countries, developing countries. We need to know what is going on to make sure that we are not helping deplete the fish stocks, and to make sure that the people who need the fish actually get the fish. You don't grab Europeans and Chinese Asians, don't just go to West Africa and take the fish and get away, and the people are struggling to meet their needs. They need to be paid properly. So all in all, transparency is at the center of all that we do. Transparency, not only in the fishing sector, but all that happens in the blue economy. We need to know because of the interactions. If you do fish, what are you going to come? If you are having shipping, what are you doing to marine mammals in terms of noise? And we need to have all this in order to achieve what I call infinity fish, infinity marine ecosystem. So we have the fish going not only for us, but also for future generations. And we need to make sure that whatever we do is equitable. We don't aggravate all the inequality, whether it's gender or small-scale fisheries or fishing communities or poorer communities. We need to have all on board, and to be able to do that, we need transparency. So the Enoch tree will actually have a lot to say about transparency in all that we do with our ocean. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Rashid. And again, we see some of those cross-cutting issues around transparency, equity, sharing of data and information coming into this topic as well. We are running short on time, so we're going to have a very, very quick last question to our panelists, but I would really ask you to keep your answers to maybe 30 seconds or less if we can do that. And it's very simple, but maybe a complex question at the same time. which is coming back to the idea of this panel, which was really about expectations for the One Ocean Science Congress, expectations for UNOC. So if you project yourself to the 14th of June next year, which is going to come around a lot sooner than any of us would like, I'm sure, what in sort of 25 words or less does success look like for you if we're thinking about ocean science and knowledge at the end of the One Ocean Science Congress and at the end of UNOC? So maybe we'll go back in the same order. Jean-Pierre, are you happy to kick us off with a very quick reaction to that question?
Yes, at the end of the Congress, hopefully a set of recommendations that are founded on the discussions at the Congress, and hopefully in the final declaration of UNOC, some words being picked up with respect to science and the commitment of the heads of states and governments to make decisions based on science and the recommendations that we have provided to them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Francois, over to you.
Of course, recommendations, as Jean-Pierre said, but maybe I would like to focus on one thing. If actions are to be taken, if decisions are to be made, there will be definitely a need for monitoring, reporting, verifying what happens. And for that, observation of the ocean is key. And what we do observe today is that observing systems are progressing, but they are still lacking a strong, sustainable, perennial support. So I would expect something in that direction.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think that gives us a bit of a teaser into the next panel as well. So thank you for that. Peter, your thoughts on this question?
Well, of course, I fully agree with the two chief organizers of One Ocean Science Congress. So maybe if I want to add something to that, I think also it could be the One Ocean Science Congress could be useful in creating or solidifying an ocean science community, which is somewhat broader than what we typically have had in the past. And I think there's a possibility for that to happen, particularly now. And when it comes to the UNOC itself, I'm also hoping that we will solidify mechanisms for using ocean science in policy, not only at UNOC, the kind of things that come out of it, but for the years to come. There will be arrangements sort of shaping up that we make sure a strong science base for future ocean policies as well. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. And Rashid, the final word to you, your hopes for One Ocean Science Congress and UNOC. Oh, you might need to unmute yourself, I think. You're on mute.
Yeah, so first of all, it's trying to be possible. And second one, I don't know what this is. And that part of the statement, including the fact that we, the people, we need to realize that idea because certain places that just have to leave alone. And this is gratitude, it's not that called gratitude. So you just just because you care. You think about deep sea.
Great, thank you so much. I think some very, very wise words from our four panelists, and if we can achieve all of that in a year's time, I think we'll all be very, very satisfied and on a very strong basis to move forward. So with that, I would like to thank all the panelists in this panel, and I will hand back to Julian, who is going to facilitate the next round of discussions. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Alison. So we are now moving to the third and last part of our event today, and I want to recall what the special envoy Poivre d'Arvor said at the beginning of this event, that we need to bring back science at the heart of UNOC as a basis for action. And of course, within that context, this requires very much having a strong science policy interface, but also science society interface. And therefore, we're really looking at UNOC as a way also to strengthen that science policy and society interface at different level. And the question is really, how do we do this in the long term? Not just at UNOC, we have a One Ocean Science Conference, which will be for the first time we have a major scientific congress back to back with a member states-led intergovernmental meeting. But how do we move forward in the future? How do we disaggregate this at different level, whether it's a national level, the subnational level? And therefore, what we're going to discuss now in